Okay, so before we start, buy this game. It's incredible. It's such an immersive experience and such an emotional experience that I can't even explain in such a short amount of time. Unfortunately, I only got around to playing it this year, even though it's a couple of years old now. But it's such a lovely game. There's going to be no spoilers whatsoever in this video. In fact, everything I want to talk about can actually be shown in the starting area of the game. So I'm going to be talking about the context-sensitive animations of RiME. Just before we get into the animation itself, I actually want to take a little moment to talk about the animators in this game. There were 3 animators and a lead animator. The lead animator being Sandra Christensen. She has worked on the Force Unleashed games, on the Tomb Raider games, more recently the remastered Tomb Raider games, and used to work at Pixar and worked on Jerry's Game and a favourite of mine, Bug's Life. There's a really cool developer diary video that she talks in about this game and about the animation, talking about trying to bring like a high level of film quality to the animation in the game, you know, bringing a lot of emotion into it, and I think the game really excels and really does have movie quality animation in it. And the really cool thing about it is that it's all traditionally animated, so it's all keyframe. There's no motion capture in the game at all. And there's some links in the description for the developer diary, as well as the credits and, you know, animation reels of Sandra. So what is a context-sensitive animation? Well, it's an animation that the character plays depending on things like their surroundings, their intent, the weather, or the terrain that the character is moving on. RiME has a ton of these context-sensitive animations, and I just want to highlight some of my favourite ones, and some that you can just see from the very start of the game that show the amount of effort and the amount of detail that's gone into this character controller. So we're going to start with the movement. And the ground movement, basically. So when you're in idle, which we talked about in the last video, is when the player has no input on the character, they just sort of stand there. It can actually change depending on a lot of things. In this video you'll see that there's a daytime idle where the kid is like looking around, all adventurous and a bit like you know, interested in what's happening around him, basically. But at night time he will begin to shiver, and this happens, you know, later on in the game when it's raining and things like that. The idle can also change depending on if the character is tired. At the start of the game here you see him waking up on a beach, and then from there, before you move out of that area, he's quite tired, so he's slumped over and he has to put his hands like on his knees to keep himself up. And this tired feeling the character has actually goes into the first movement option, which is walking. And you can see when he's tired, he's struggling to walk, he's got really heavy feet. This is just really cool because it's bringing the story and, you know, the animation, the mechanics together to create something that I think is, you know, truly immersive in a 3D platformer like this. So the other thing that is shown across all movement types in this game is going uphill and downhill, and I think these are really crucial animations in this game particularly. So when you're walking up and downhill or running up and downhill, you can see that he has his arms out as to his side as he's going downhill, for instance, for balance and, you know, controlling his speed to make sure that he doesn't speed up too quickly and begin stumbling downwards. And then uphill he'll lean forwards to balance himself as he's going upwards, to keep himself, you know, in control of his movement. And speaking of this movement, the sprint animation is probably one of the best in the game. It's based on like how long the player holds down the movement for. So if they're just running along, after a few seconds the kid will turn it into a sprint animation and will go a bit faster. It's just so full of life, and it perfectly sums up the kid on his adventure. It's absolutely great. When it comes to stopping in this game, so going from movement to idle, there's even more context sensitive animations in there. So if you're running you just kind of stop and put one foot forward and sort of balance on it. But if you're sprinting, you come to a hard stop when you let go of the analog stick. And you can see the kid is kind of like, he goes down low, he slides, and he comes back up again to it. But if you're running towards an edge, the kid does a animation where he nearly falls off. It's such a cool little bit of animation there in such a small action. There's a unique mechanic in this game that uses the character's voice to speak different commands and that sort of thing. And these have very context-sensitive animations and actions as well. If you are just like waking up on the beach at the start of the game, then pressing this will cause the character to shout "Hey!" and because he's lost, he doesn't know where he is. But if you're near like small animals, pressing the button will cause the character to like swing his arms and yell, like shoo them away, so they're not in his way anymore. If you're like by yourself in a quiet moment, sometimes you can press the button and the kid will begin humming to himself. And when you're near statues, you can yell at them, which is again a different animation and everything, which shows that the kid has some kind of like power in his voice. There's much more later in the game that invoke the character's feelings and that sort of thing, which are really awesome. Finally, I want to talk about, strangely, my favourite part of the game, which is moving around in water. So there is, of course, swimming in this game, where you can swim on the surface or you can swim underwater, which is very cool because all the movement is like led by the head, which I think is really cool. But actually, when you're in water but still in a shallow end, there's a really nice wading animation where the legs move slowly and then the kid pushes his hands through the water. But my favourite animation in the game is actually the shallow water running. There's just such a great motion to it, and when it's like paired with the sound and the particles, it just looks so awesome. And it just makes sense when you watch it. You can see that he's like trying to kick his feet out of the water so he can get more of a reach with each footstep, and I just think it's great. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, but that is my favorite animation. What's really great about the animation in this game is, like I've demonstrated here, there's so much polish and thought that's gone into all of the animations. Even right out of the gate here, you can tell that they had animation as one of the things that they wanted to make sure was solid in this game. And as I've talked about Sandra, she wanted to bring a movie level of quality to the game. And even though I've only shown the first area here, there is just constant great animation throughout the game, including cutscenes as well as even more context sensitive stuff like I've described. So yeah, like I said, go play it. It's brilliant. I don't think you'll regret it. And as an animator, playing through this and seeing how the animations evolve as it goes on was a complete pleasure. I think Sandra and her animation team absolutely succeeded in creating something that was movie level quality. And in terms of an animation, a 3D platformer that's highly narrative based, I think they succeeded in that plan. And thank you so much for watching my last video. The last time I checked, it was over 800 views, which is crazy. It's much bigger than I thought it was going to get. And even one of the animators from Crash Team Racing commented and said thank you, which kind of made my day. So yeah, thank you very much to all the people that subscribed as well, and I'll see you for the next one.